In this video, we're going to explain how to configure prerequisite for using Azure Data Share to receive data into Azure SQL Database or Azure Synapse Analytics, formerly SQL Data Warehouse. You can also find detailed instruction in this article on the Azure Data Share documentation site and click on Receive Data. So first, we'll go to the SQL server, which hosts the database. And under Access Control, select View My Access to confirm that you have at least contributor access or above permission to the SQL server. Next, select Active Directory Admin. Make sure you have the Active Directory Admin permission to your SQL server. Next, under Firewalls and Virtual Networks, make sure Allow Azure Services and Resources to access this server is set to Yes. This allows Data Share Service to interact with your SQL server and write data into your SQL database. Also, we need to add the client IP to the SQL server so later we can use Query Editor to run a script. You can either click Add Client IP, or you can enter your client IP range manually below. And make sure you save your setting. Next, we will navigate to Azure Data Share resource. So within this Azure Data Share resource, I already have a received share for my product data. And I can now select the products data set, which is the SQL database table, and map to target. I'm going to select Azure SQL Database as the target data type and specify my SQL server and my SQL database. Next, I will need to use Active Directory admin permission to run this SQL script to add the consumer data share account user into my SQL database so that it can write to my SQL database. And the consumer data share account is the name of the data share resource. So copy the script and go to my SQL database and navigate to Query Editor. And if you're using SQL Data Warehouse, you will find Query Editor a little bit below in the left navigation. And make sure to select Active Directory Authentication to log in. If you're using SQL Server Management Studio, make sure you connect to your SQL database, use the Active Directory Authentication instead of SQL Authentication. And paste and run the script. It's successful, so now I can go back to my Azure Data Share resource to complete my dataset mapping. So for more information about how to receive data into SQL destination and the prerequisite, make sure to visit the Azure Data Share documentation, share from Azure SQL Database or Synapse Analytics, and select Received Data.